Koketso Mano here.
Amon, Moleko.
So, we decided to put this video together because we've been getting a lot of hits on LinkedIn, direct messages asking, how did you get into the field of economics? How did you go about your journey? And so we thought we'd share a few snippets on, our personal experiences in the field, and hopefully this is something that will be interesting to you. Obviously, we're not going to be able to, reach every individual, but in general, this is sort of the themes that are coming out in the questions that we received on LinkedIn.
Definitely, and I think that's one of the motivations why we're doing these videos, and maybe more videos to come as we get questions, because it is very difficult if you receive 100 messages to go through and answer each person. But with this video, we hope that we'll be able to give enough information. And for those ones who said, I want to be an economist like you, hopefully you'll get an idea now about what it really entails to be an economist and how to actually become one. Yeah.
Right. So number one question is, how do you get into the field? You've now studied. Yes. Most of the people that reach out are also students. So you now studied, you finished your undergrad. What do? And I guess maybe before we get to how do you get into the field, which is the actual job, the labor market, maybe let's walk back and say, what sort of decisions should you be thinking about as you wrap up your studies? Some people also do ask, should I continue with honors, masters? How far should I go along before trying to get into the labor market? So your opinion is that go as far as
you can go. Because there's one challenge with entering the job market, especially as an economist, is that having to balance work and study can be a challenge. But also, to tell the truth, competition is tough in our field. If you want to ever work for international organizations, be it IMF, the World Bank, and all those that we all aspire to work for. Anyway, IMF, if you see this, you know it. But
it's not about you.
It's about sharing information. If you look at a lot of posts there, you will see minimum masters. So you need to have a PhD sometimes. So I would say if you want to and you have an opportunity to go up to masters, I would not go for PhD if I've not worked yet, because then that's just another funny recipe which we'll get to. But go up to masters. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually about to jump in there. By the way, this is cranberry juice. Just so everybody knows.
Non-alcoholic.
We're not just talking nonsense here. So I actually wanted to chime in there because I was immediately going to say, look at what is required out there. I think a lot of us really approach our lives, our careers with this passion, which is necessary, this interest that we have burning inside of us, but we don't really pay attention and are attuned to the market that we expect to, employers and have demand for our skills. So look at the market, pay attention to the trends in the market. What are they looking for in terms of skills, and also at what level do they tend to hire at? So don't really just approach it with a blind eye. Make sure that wherever you're interested in working, you understand exactly what the requirements are. It wouldn't make sense, I agree with Amon, to go all the way to PhD, for example, without any work experience. Work experience is very important. And also it'll help you to manage your own expectations. You can imagine you have a PhD, now you are a graduate, or you're just an entry-level person in the workplace. That
just
can
doing data
capture. That can be really difficult and demotivating. So pay attention to what is out there in the market. You want to make yourself attractive to the market that you want to demand your skills.
And affordable as well.
Of course, of course.
I agree with you in terms of knowing what the market wants before you study, because that will also help you choose what you specialize in, how you select your majors. So that means we have an idea for our next video. The trends, like the most in-demand skills for the career of economics. So think the best way or the easier way to approach it is to share our stories, how we got into the field, and then maybe that will help others. I think the best way for me to become an economist is to start with a graduate program or an internship. But I would not really consider. Okay, let me say, I would be careful of what institution I take.
Okay.
The advantage of starting out in a graduate program is that the pressure might be a bit less, but the exposure is quite broad. So as an inexperienced individual, it gives you an opportunity to see what you can focus on, because economics is quite broad. The economists who specialized in government finance statistics, the economists who specialized in labor markets, the economists who specializes in a whole lot of different areas. But if you start out with a well-structured graduate program, you get exposure to all of them, and you have some time to decide. You have that 12 months or 24 months to decide. So if somebody's in a university and they're about to complete minimum honors, you can't just go in with your degree. Well, you can, but I will not advise that. Then the first thing to consider saying would be graduate program, and not necessarily a full-on post. Yeah, and that's how I started, and that's how you started as well.
That's the same. Yeah, it's the same for me as well. And I guess what's really important is we always just try to tell students or people that are interested in becoming economists what is the easiest way to get in based on our experience, and graduate programs are really the easiest way to set your foot in the field. Not to say that there aren't people that are able to get in directly in a post, but as you said, the learning curve can be quite steep. So graduate programs help you to manage that, but also the graduate program that we did, which was at the South African Reserve Bank, also exposed us to the different areas that you just now spoken about within economics. So obviously the Reserve Bank is an institution of economics, right? So there are different areas: financial markets, macroprudential policy, then you have monetary policy research, statistics as well. So
supervision.
Exactly. So if you don't really know where you want to settle in your career, this can be a nice way to sort of get a broader picture view of the different areas that you could play in. But the Reserve Bank is not the only one, Amon. What other institutions have great graduate programs out there?
National Treasury, I think, obviously. Stats same might have, but the BER as well has an interesting program. So those are the ones I would look at the moment. There are many. Actually, I think what we will do, we can also share a few links to the video with all the graduate programs that are available. So a lot of government departments have them, but again, if you are going for a graduate program, just think about what that program offers. I know we should not chase money at the beginning of the career, but we must be able to live, for example. So if a graduate program offers you something like 7,000 rands, I mean, you will not be able to cover rent on that one. It's not a politically correct thing to say, but we should tell the truth if we really want to help our people. And with that graduate program, you should look at the structure. They should tell you, after this 12 months or 18 or 24 months, these are all the things that you have learned, and you should keep track of that when you're in that graduate program. So most of the government departments, the BER, the SAB, I think those are the institutions that we can look at. We'll put more info about others.
Yeah. And maybe just to chime in there as well, not to be prescriptive, which is not what we're trying to do here. We'll give you examples of our own experiences and what we have now learned, having spent time in the field. So not to be prescriptive, but pay attention to your own needs, is what Amon is saying. What are you looking to get from a graduate program, right? If you have intentions of staying on in that institution, is that an institution that you feel is a good fit for your career? Number 3, look at your own living expenses, right? So you know how much would be required for you to survive month to month. So look at your own living expenses, your living conditions, and pay attention to the growth prospect of your income, right? Because there is inflation, you are going to want to purchase certain items such as a house, a car. So pay attention to that as well in making your decisions around whether the graduate program is a good starting point for you or not. The last thing that I wanted to add here to what Amon has already mentioned is I'm not going to let him get away because he's still in the public sector. He's going to mention only the public sector graduate programs, but there are tons of private sector graduate programs as well.
But I did say who will share the link.
You mentioned only the public sector, so I have to chime in there as well. But for example, the banks do have graduate programs as well. First National Bank has graduate programs as well.
Obviously.
So you can pay attention to those, and they will cover different areas within banking. It won't just be economics. So once again, pay attention here if it's a good fit for you.
What other areas do they cover?
So it would be banking, for example. It would be the credit space, risk space, investment space. So that is the different areas. So whatever the functions the bank has, you could also get exposure there as well. But I do have to warn graduates, right? What we do tend to see is that people, and I think we did that as well when we were young. You just get into an area because you just want a job, and you'll see how it goes, man. As time goes, maybe we'll move around a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have to caution you. Sometimes, given the conditions of the economy, the conditions of that specific employer, how they're performing, there could be hindrances in how easily you're able to move around. And if you find those hindrances, then that could also frustrate you because you still see yourself as an economist in the making, and here you are stuck in something that maybe is not what you intended at the start. You just wanted to get into an institution. So be careful there. We've seen a lot of people getting frustrated in that area as well.
But how do you navigate that? Like for a new graduate, how do you avoid that trap?
Yeah, I think one way, we've already touched on it, choose the institution wisely, right? So if you are in the Reserve Bank, for example, we have experience there, you would have chosen that institution because you see yourself potentially as a macroeconomist, potentially also in monetary policy or in central banking. I'm in the commercial banking space, pardon me, guys.
Wow. So you're going to say like 5,000 times.
Exactly. So you see yourself in a central banking environment. If you don't, then you run the risk because you're literally just getting in just to get a job. And then what happens if you find yourself stuck there 5 years, 10 years?
That can be quite frustrating.
Exactly.
That can be quite frustrating because although the narrative sometimes is that if you have a degree and a postgraduate degree, you can easily move around, you can find jobs, but the reality is that, especially in our country, it's not that easy to move around, even for the most highly qualified people sometimes. So I think, in addition to what you're saying there, the way of avoiding that trap would be to speak to people who are in that field even before you go into it. I don't think I've told you this story before, but before I went to enroll at UP, by the way, that's where we both started. Before I went to enroll there, I spoke to an economist at the South African Reserve Bank. So I knew somebody who works in there who was able to get me an appointment with this economist.
Because you were a bursary recipient, right?
Yes. Yes. So we sat there and spoke about general things. But I remember asking him a question that I think you know him, Eliphas Ndo. Shout out to Eliphas.
Yay.
But one of the biggest things that I remember from that conversation, he said to me that if you really want to be an economist, major in statistics as well. And tips like that you don't really get, but it was only even 2 or 3 years into my job when I realized that I would not do this if I had majored in economics and something else, and that's not statistics, but obviously that's different. So what I'm trying to emphasize is just that think about where you are going to, as Koki said. And one way to easily do that is to speak to people who are in the industry, if you have access to them. But I guess these videos would share some of those insights,
Yes.
even for those who don't have access to those people.
Those people, yeah.
At least they have access to code.
See? Okay, so we can't get away without speaking a little bit of our own journeys.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your career so far. 10 years in the game, guys.
10 years.
It's not a
in the game.
joke. A decade.
So where do we start? We start when I was in high school.
No. We've already touched on how we got into the field, so take it from there.
Take it from there. Okay, I studied at the University of Pretoria for my first degree, the BCom degree. I majored in economics and statistics, and yeah, no, if I did not die at that time, I think I'm immortal. After STK 320 did things to me, it's fine. But immediately after that, I applied at the South African Reserve Bank for their graduate program. I was lucky in those days that they still consider people with just a BCom degree.
Okay.
We spent a year there, and I think you can come in, so you can come in there. We spent a year when we were doing an advanced diploma in international and central banking. That is the qualification. So we were told we have a half-half program, like you go work at your designated area, and then you also have to spend some time at the sub-academy where you attend lectures and write exams. So that was my first year. Then from there, I joined a team of business cycle analysts in the economic research space. Later on, it transformed into economic statistics, but yeah. And that's where I've been for the longest of time. And recently, I got a chance to rotate and work for another department within the South African Reserve Bank, that is the International Economic Relations and Policy Department. And I'm a policy analyst there. No, international policy.
Okay,
economic policy analyst. It is a phenomenal role where we get to look at basically representing the SAP in economic forums outside the country. And I guess we'll talk about that more. But in my journey,
it's okay.
In my journey, I started with just a degree. And immediately after my graduate program, I went and enrolled for my honors. Then a while after that, I went and to enroll for my master's.
And you just completed, right?
Yes, you're not supposed to say that.
Why not?
Anyway, yes,
It's amazing news.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And what did you specialize in? Are you able to tell us anything about your master's?
I can just say I specialize, or I focused on labor markets.
Okay.
So my paper is still under embargo, so that I publish other smaller papers that I did before that. But it's pretty interesting paper. I think we can dwell on it sometime and talk about really the labor market and the youth specifically in the country, because things are not looking good. But that's what I specialized in. So that has been my journey at the sub. There are many other things that I can talk about in that journey, but if there's one thing that I've observed, although it might sound like I'm blowing my own horn,
go right ahead.
But it is the issue of not just sitting there by your corner and doing your reports and finishing. What I did at the sub, and I think that's one thing that you did, but we'll hear you just now, it's every opportunity that you get to interact with other departments or other institutions or other individuals, you take them. That's how you grow. If you're going to be told that you have 3 monthly reports that you need to do, and that is your job, and that is what you stick to, and don't interact with anybody else, or don't partake in any other activity of your employer or your organization, you're not really going to grow. Okay, let me give you a chance to speak. I'll speak more later.
Yeah, and I really want us to do another video as soon as your master's is no longer under embargo, because I think labor market, number one, statistics, which is the function that you're in the Reserve Bank, and then at the same time, labor market is something that is so topical at the moment in South Africa. Everyone is talking about, labor market statistics. So I think this is somewhere where you could have really a strong niche to really weigh in on that policy debate, which I think is really going to be something very profound. My journey, I'll keep it short.
Interesting journey.
I'll keep it short for an
Impossible.
I'll keep it concise, Yeah, I also studied at the University of Pretoria. I always knew I wanted to be an economist. Hey? Already in high school, I was dead set on that goal.
Oh, so you're mentioning high school issues. But I did not get it.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm just mentioning, I'm just saying, I wasn't confused going into varsity what I wanted to do. I really knew I really wanted to be an economist. So,
and I think that's one thing we should talk about.
Yeah.
How do you select a career? How do you choose a career? But we'll talk about
that, because I also read a very interesting book recently that touches on, making those sort of decisions very young, the pros and cons, and just maybe keeping an open mind as you go along in your career. And I think that's something that we will also, explore as we go along, because we're also still learning as,
We've promised so many
I know.
Okay.
But yeah, 2026 is going to be a very long year, so we can make it happen, okay? 2025 has been very short.
Yes. Back to your journey.
Back to my journey. We digress. So I went to the University of Pretoria. At that stage, Amon, we were already being told that, these are your majors, right? Economics, statistics, definitely, and mathematics, So we had to do calculus, linear algebra. So if that's why I get to look at what your university is going to expect of you, you know what I mean? So that's what we did, and then I also joined the Reserve Bank graduate program straight after I got I completed my undergrad. I did my honors the same year that we were doing our graduate program.
Talk about being an overachiever.
I'll call it hard work.
Hard work, okay. We know that a lot of you have tried to reach out to us through LinkedIn and Facebook and many other mediums, but we've not been able to get through each and every request. But I think this information that we shared was quite important, and it will give you valuable insight. So we're just saying to those who've not had a chance to get back to, please be patient. We'll try by all means to get through to all of you. Cool.
Alright guys, now that you've watched our content, if you have any questions on what we've already said or what we have not said, please do let us know, and then we'll make videos for you guys. Cheers.